All right, day 29, and today's going to be an interesting one with the intention that I set for myself. And after reflecting over the last couple days and where this new style of project has taken me, it's given me almost a moment to pause. And the question that I've kind of posed to myself is, what if your life was a movie? What would it look like? So coming into day 29, what I want to do is spend some time thinking more deeply about the journey that I've been on to get me to this point. And the exercise or activity for today is just really sitting in that space as I go through my work. I'm going to start the top of the day off with a little bit of a recap, spending maybe 30 minutes breaking down some key points in my life, what my, as I would call, inciting incident is, and potential turning points where maybe there was a shift that occurred in my life, and kind of thinking about what caused that. So today's a little bit different one, but I kind of wanted to make today a little more playful and reflective. So that'll be the game for today, or the intention set for today is in that space. And I will now jump into day 29 and report back at the end of the day. I remember growing up and spending our summers kind of traveling and exploring across Saskatchewan. We would always go as a family camping all summer, and really connecting with nature. It was something that I always look forward to that time of year, and getting out into the wilderness. There was just something special about that, and having that opportunity as a kid was amazing. We would also spend some time at our grandparents'. We'd spend about a week there every year in the summer, and remember building forts out in the woods. We would find twine and nails in the barn, and grab some old logs and build some makeshift stairs on trees, and build a floating house in the tree canopy, which was a pretty cool experience, is using our hands to just really play out in nature. And then as we got a little bit older, the family decided to purchase a family cabin, and that kind of deepened my connection with nature and the time spent. We would go up every weekend and slowly work at improving the cabin and being out in nature as much as possible, whether quadding or snowmobiling. I remember times where we would go out snowmobiling in the wintertime and kind of drive into the middle of the bush and start a fire and just kind of hear nature all around you, and make a nice lunch and just be. There's just something about being in nature. I've always kind of gravitated towards it with filming. There was something about being out in nature, shooting time lapses, that just created a sense of calm, where I just felt everything was just right. And I think that's the realization that I've had through all of this, is I've always had that theme, or that thread continuing through my life, and it's always a thing that's seemed to kind of ground me through everything. And the realization is kind of this next chapter of my life, is making a more intentional effort to build my life around it, finding more opportunities to surround myself in nature and just feel the energy and be with the energy. I think that's kind of where this next chapter is going to bring me. End of day 29, and today was a fun day of exploration and digging a little bit deeper into the past and the things that have shaped who I am today and kind of where I'm at with everything. And my takeaway from this exercise was just the impact that nature has had on my life, which has been at all of these key points in my life, whether quiet moments of triumph, the hard moments, or the good moments, most of these memories that stick with me have some element of being connected with nature. And that's something that I never necessarily thought about too much. And there has to be something more there. And as I move into this next chapter, is thinking more of how to infuse more of that into my life and building my life and the way I spend my time, more intentionally spending that time in the outdoors. And I think it's something that we all connect with more in the space where our energies just all shift. I know it takes me a solid couple days of being in nature where my whole energy and everything is just, it shifts. So those couple days of that transitionary period, something is happening inside you, and I don't know what it is, but it's something that does have a profound effect on a person. What I want to dig a little bit into here is beyond spending about 30 minutes in looking at my past with the idea of thinking, what if your life was a movie? What would it look like? It was a fun exercise, and after doing that, I then kind of spent some time breaking down a little more thought what this actually means and a way to put it into action or use this as a tool to make a change in your life. It starts with imagining yourself as the protagonist. Start with painting that picture. What is the opening scene? What are some of the struggles in your life? And what are the quiet moments of triumph? When you think of any great movie, there are these key pivotal moments in your life. What are those key pivotal moments? Moments where you've stopped to question things, or moments that almost, as I would say, memory bank moments for the good and the bad. Things that shift maybe a point in your life where your perspective changed. Something in there. Then thinking about a little bit in this idea of the inciting incident, the call to adventure. What is that moment that disrupts the ordinary and sets the story in motion? We all have it. It's just really narrowing down for you that moment of inflection. The question to ask here I have is, what was the moment that shook your world? Was it a personal tragedy, a chance encounter, or a decision you made or didn't make that altered your course? For me, I've had a few moments, and the key ones as of recent were in reminiscing, or like two main ones. When my wife had our little one, she experienced pretty severe PPD, postpartum depression, and that really shaped my outlook on life and really realizing what is really important. And the second one was earlier, I guess it would have been, we're into 2025 now, so it would have been January, about a year ago. My dad had a stroke that really changed my perception of everything. I was with him there for a few weeks in the hospital, and in those couple weeks, just really put things into perspective for me of what actually matters in life, and thinking more deeply about how you spend your time. And that's really put me on this new track of understanding or wanting to investigate this further. The next section here is thinking a little bit about reflecting on specific moments. When you think about what your inciting incident is in your story, was it something you embraced, or is it something you resisted? What was it about that moment, and how did you react to that moment? The second thing here is if you don't necessarily know what yours is yet, what your inciting incident is, are you still waiting for it? And if so, what might it look like? And how would you recognize it? That's the key point as I was going through this exercise that I was thinking of. What is mine? What are the characteristics of an inciting incident that would make it that for me? And for me, it's this nature piece and the realization of the impact that has in your life. There's this moment working with Kevin, a collaborator, on a project in nature where it just clicked, and I knew that was the moment that things were going to change, and I think change quickly. The second thing here then to look at, once you kind of have your idea of what your inciting incident is, or at least noting what to look for in that process, is thinking about the turning point when everything changes. So this exercise I have here then is define it. This is where the stakes are raised, where your choice defines your path forward. And for me, this is distinctly around how I'm deciding to spend my time, and the type of path that I'm creating for myself is all with this North Star of get me into nature, around that type of energy. What I have here then for examples, thinking with this turning point, moments of clarity, realizing you can no longer live the way that you have been. And for me, that was in this commercial and corporate world of filmmaking, where it's creating work that is, the intent is to help a company sell something, and doing it in a way that is just with the desire to just buy versus narrowing down or niching down or understanding what is the actual value proposition that company is what is the value to the customer that company is solving that need for that, and realizing that there has to be another way here. And that was my moment of clarity, is just trading my time, not trading my time, I guess, making sure how I'm using my skills is for something that I deem as important. The second here is an idea of like a relationship ending, a job loss, unexpected opportunity. So this is more of the things that happen in your life that force you to I guess, have a moment where you're looking at the bigger picture. And then the last here is, as an example, is just a decision to pursue a dream or face a fear. So it's just other ways to think about what is that turning point for you. And the next section here is then on reflection. What was the moment that changed everything? Or if that hasn't happened yet, what could be that moment? If you have this thing in your life that you're wanting to change. In reflecting here, this section's about just thinking of that moment. What was the moment that changed everything, or what could be that moment? If you've yet to make that change, what is that next actionable step you could take to make a change in your life? The second thing here then is, how did or how could that moment alter how you see the world, yourself, or your purpose? I think most of us know when our life is out of balance, or there's something that you're not aligning your values to how you're spending your time, or there's something that's just not right. Usually, like, your intuition is pretty strong, and I think that you know when things aren't good. You know when you should be acting. It's always, I think it's so common to be in the space of, I will make that change tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes, and then you say to yourself, I'll make that change tomorrow. And I think that is the most common thing that occurs in this stage of change, is tomorrow. Because that's the easy thing. It's feeling like you're committed to change, but that your tomorrow's self will do it. The only way to impact or make change is to do it now. Do it today, not tomorrow. The next thing here is the bigger questions. What's the theme? Every movie has a theme, whether it's redemption, love, courage, transformation. What is the theme of your life story? And it seems a little cheesy to think about that, but I think there's a lot of value in thinking of it from the theme perspective. It helps to set an intention for your life, and it helps to make you think more deeply about what you value. And I think it's part of your value system as well there. With the bigger questions as well, is there any, I guess, in the process of trying to understand or determine your theme, some things you could start to look at, or are there any recurring patterns or lessons? Anything in this that continually shows up in your life? What if you didn't like your theme? This is the next part. And thinking about what would you do if you didn't like your theme? How would you rewrite it? What would be those changes you would make to make it the theme that you want for yourself? And then the fun part here, which is the climax, where you're taking control. You're taking that step to make that change. We often wait for life to lead the way, but what if you wrote it yourself? What if you were the one that took action to make that change, not just waiting for that thing to happen? Ask yourself, what bold action could you take to change your story? Is there anything right now? Is there one thing? What is that next actionable step you could take to make that change? Doesn't have to be something big, just something to get you started. I find that in these situations where you're able to make that one change, that momentum starts, and then so much other things flow after that. It's that first step that just really gets the ball rolling in this process. The other next exercise you can consider doing in this is really thinking from the angle of, with this idea of, what if your life was a movie? Imagine yourself as an audience member watching your film. If you were watching yourself on the big screen, what would you be yelling at yourself to do? I think that's a super powerful exercise, because it forces you to get outside your daily grind and what you're working on, to really think about the bigger picture and take stock of where you're at. And then the next thing is the perspective shift. If life is a movie, you're not just the protagonist, but you're also the director. You're the one in charge. You can make these changes. This is up to you, and you have the power to make these changes. What scenes would you add? What scenes would you remove? And what scenes would you rewrite? Here's another fun one I thought about and sat with for a little bit. If the credits rolled today, what story do you want your movie to tell? And I think this piece is a lot about thinking about your legacy and how do you want to be remembered? What are the things that you want to be remembered for? And then the last thing here is, what I was hoping to do is just kind of leave you with a little bit of a challenge. Great stories are messy, uncertain, and full of unexpected twists. That's what makes them worth watching. For you, what is your next scene? What is that next thing that you can do that's going to push your story forward? What action can you take to make it unforgettable? And then the last is, if your life was a movie, would you be proud of how you lived it? Or is there something you would change? I think that's the biggest question of all, and I think where I'm going to leave it today. Again, if your life was a movie, would you be proud of how you lived it? Or is there something you would change? And I think we're going to leave day 29 here, and we'll jump into day 30.